What's up, guys? With director Christopher Nolan's new film coming out, Dunkirk, I thought it would be really cool to review all of his films so far. So today, I'm going to be talking about Following, the one film you've never heard of Christopher Nolan. That's because it was the first film that he made straight from college. He used all of his friends from college, he used money funded from his other jobs, and he put this film together over the course of a year. He could only film on Saturdays because of the other actors' job restrictions, and he used minimal film stock. He could only use one or two takes, and most of the time he had to use the first take to cut down on expenses. So it's really cool, the backstory of how he made this film. So I'm going to talk about it. Now, Following tells the story of a man who is an aspiring writer. We are never told his name, although he uses various aliases, and basically he follows people. That's what he does. He uses their day-to-day life as inspiration for his work, for his books. And the premise of the story is that he follows this one person, and the person realizes he's following. That's one of his rules. He has a set of rules: never follow for too long, never get too close for them to realize. But this man notices the main character following him, and what follows from there is the main character is dragged into an underworld of shifty stuff, let's say. Now, Following is shot in black and white, and it's a really cool visual film. I really like Nolan's use of low-budget filmmaking. It's a really cool noir feeling. Another cool thing that Nolan does is use non-linear storytelling, which we've seen him use in Batman Begins, Memento, and The Prestige very well. So it's cool to see how he finds his roots as a director, and there are very strong parallels between Following and Memento. Now, one thing that really struck me about the film is the strength of its screenplay. The dialogue between the characters is very strong, and the characters, despite being quite one-dimensional, are very interesting because their motivations aren't typical motivations. For example, and no spoilers, there is a burglar in this film, and the reason he burgles these houses isn't to steal things, although he does that, but the real thing he's trying to do is enter someone else's life, and his catchphrase is, "You take something away and you show them what they had." And I think that's really, really interesting. The characters are very interesting characters, and their motivations, they aren't conventional, which is what I loved about this film. Nolan, as a director, does a very good job as well. The small conversations between characters are very well staged. There's a kind of, there's a gritty feel to the film and a sense of urgency. The film is only 70 minutes long. It's an hour and 10 minutes, and I think that's one of its major positives, because it goes by, it never drags. There is no scene out of place. Everything feels necessary in order to tell the story, and it is a very, very interesting story, and I really recommend seeing this film. And another cool thing that Nolan does is use these small details to tell the bigger story. For example, while two characters are kissing, one character will look away to show that she's distracted, and either she isn't very focused or she's thinking about something else, and that tells the bigger story. It tells more about her character, which is very interesting. Nolan didn't have the budget to do the big set pieces to tell the story in such a spectacular way. This is much more of a small scale story, and it works really well. And the way that Nolan tells this story is very interesting too. The way he pieces together, similarly to Memento, these small intricate pieces which might not make sense at first, which may throw off some viewers, but later on in the film a scene will explain what happened in that previous scene, and that was very well done. The ending is never spoiled. You are constantly thinking about how the film is going to end up. It's building, 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 and then finally, when the end hits you, it does hit you, and it's a very, very good ending. The film really kicks on in the last 20 minutes when the twist arrives, and like I said, it's a very, very good ending. It makes sense. It doesn't disregard everything that happened previously. It's a really, really good ending. The only flaws I have with the film are sometimes scenes stop abruptly and then switches back and forth. I actually looked up on the IMDb trivia. There are 31 different time periods in this film, so you really have to pay attention. Like you do in Nolan's other films, you really have to pay attention. So some scenes you can't really get attached to, because then it just jumps to a different scene, different characters, well, not different characters, but the same characters past or future. Also, some of the characters, despite inhabiting a very interesting story, they could have been a bit more fleshed out. Overall, I had a really fun time watching Following. It's a great early showcase for Nolan's skills. It shows his passion for directing and his skill at writing a screenplay, and you can definitely see the parallels to his future films, such as Memento. And a really cool thing, these actors were his friends from college, and most of them he gave cameos in Batman Begins and Inception, and I thought that was really nice. And there are some Easter eggs. For example, on the door of someone's apartment, there is a small Batman logo. Nice one. Also, one of the main characters' name is Cobb, and if you know Inception, there you go. So Following has a great script, great direction from a young Christopher Nolan. The actors do a very good job. I'm going to give Following an A-. So I'm really looking forward to doing this Christopher Nolan review series. I had a great time watching Following. It was the only Nolan film that I hadn't seen, and I found it on Netflix, and there we go. There's my review. Can't wait to do Memento next, and until the next time, goodbye.